Bay administration, Barry's job was to keep City Hall aware of potential explosive situations before things blew up and got out of hand.
24 persons, most of them youngsters, were arrested today in the second day of rioting in Brooklyn over alleged school segregation. Some 300 Negro teenagers and youths ran wild through downtown Brooklyn, battling police, smashing windows, and terrorizing pedestrians.
Historically, racial tensions between blacks and whites were a given. A former Nation of Islam member named Clarence 13X was a force to be reckoned with when he was kicked out of the Nation of Islam and formed his own secret society called the 5%ers. Clarence 13X, at the raise of his hand, could stop a riot of black youth or storm.
Son míos, el de los abuelos. First of all, these words are not mine. They are words of my ancestors. En la profecía de los mayas está. It is in the Maya prophecy. En el tiempo 12 Bactum. That in the time of the 12 Bactum, 13 Ahau, and 13 Ahau, el regreso de los abuelos. It is the return of the ancestors. El retorno de los hombres sabios. It is the return of the men of wisdom. Que amanezca. Let the morning come. Que llegue la buena hora. Let the dawn come. Para que los pueblos tengan paz. For the people be happy.
We also call them America's 13th generation. They are literally the 13th in a row since the first U.S. generation of Sam Adams and Benjamin Franklin. We also call them 13 because the number conjures up some of the bad luck and ill timing of their life cycle. I mean, after all, when Generation X first came along, the early 1960s, there was a time when childhood was sinking to the very bottom of society's priorities. Families were beginning to break up. Schools didn't seem to function very well anymore. Polls showed that having kids was not so important as living the good life. Certainly, parents increasingly said they no longer wanted to stay together for the sake of their kids. And the entire culture turned anti-child. I remember at the time I was growing up in California, there was zero population growth. And I remember all these ZPG stickers, things like, none is fun, right? Jesus was an only child, stuff like that. I remember that. And not only were kids a nuisance, they were bad for the planet. And one way I like to sum up sort of the anti-child animus of the entire time that Gen Xers were growing up is by showing you something that I call a brief chronology of the evil trailed movie era, right? Rosemary's Baby, David, Exorcist, they all had spin-offs and sequels. This was the most profitable genre of Hollywood movie, exactly coinciding with the early childhood of Generation X. And when they weren't monsters, they were annoyances, like in Kramer versus Kramer. Remember that? They were horribly bratty kids. Has any of you recently gone back and seen Willy Wonka? That is a painful movie to watch. Just painful. Why would anyone have a kid like that, right? Or Tatum O'Neal and Paper Moon. These were tough kids. You didn't want to hug these kids. And that was by design. Because the design was to raise up kids. You remember, childhood and becoming more adults for boomers, but it was totally hands-off for Generation X. The idea is that in an era when we're all going to be self-actualized individuals, kids, like everyone else, should be able to just handle things on their own. They have a problem, give them a latchkey guide or a self-care guide. Give them Judy Blume, right? Explain to them how horrible the world really is, right? But I mean, that was considered good for kids. And in fact, when a lot of people ask me, I go into the workplace, they say, we have generations that get along in the workplace. Why is it these Gen Xers are so free agent-like? They just don't commit themselves to the group. It goes back to childhood experience. That's the way Xers were raised. And when Xers came out into the economy and into college in the 1980s, we started to hear a lot of disappointment. I mean, from these childless devil movies to, disappointment in the 80s about the product of our educational systems, how little they read, how little they voted, how little they were interested in civic affairs, how greedy they were, all of this stuff. Kind of a negative reputation around Generation X. It kind of evolved from that in young adulthood. I often point out to boomers, who are usually the first to condemn Generation X, that they have huge positive attributes of this generation which have gone neglected. I sometimes tell boomers when they entered the workforce, what did productivity do, right? What has it done with Xers? It's gone back up again. Xers, really more than anything else, represent a generation of extreme individual creativity and resilience. After 9/11, everyone was talking about the resilience of America. Well, which generation do you think really showed that resilience? I don't think boomers. I think it's the "Who moved my cheese" generation. I think it's Generation X. I mean, who was most likely in those Twin Towers at that hour of the morning? Who was in that flight from Pittsburgh? Who was in that wing of the Pentagon? Who was shipping out a couple of weeks later to Afghanistan, getting married, signing their wills? This is Generation X. You can take anything you give it. Hugely positive attributes about Generation X. And let's face it, every generation is what it has to be. And this is what Gen Xers had to be.
Are people in their early 20s and their 30s? Do you have any Gen X? Okay, you do. I've got to see a show of hands of how many Gen Ys, and I got to hold on. How many people in here are 30 or under? Oh my goodness. I got a picture of that one. Oh, hey! Whoa! This is huge. I love this. Okay, so let's tell you, I'm going to tell you the Gen X right. Gen X wants you to know this story. Because Gen X, you're my favorite generation. You're my favorite generation because you are wedged into two of the most self-absorbed generations there are. You are in between the baby boomer and Gen Y. I feel sorry. Let me say show you Gen one more time. So I know, okay, Gen X. So here's the deal. The baby boomer comes on the scene. The baby boomer was raised by traditionalist parents or older. But the baby boomer cried.
So right there, hold on.
Your parents would say, cry. I'll give you something to cry about. Now those old baby boomers are the Gen X parents, okay? Or traditionalists, they are still being raised by tough parents. This generation was not modeled, okay? In fact, I asked Gen Xers, Gen X, does anybody remember their high school counselor? People don't have one. They don't remember because nobody, Gen X, we didn't really care about Gen X. We just wanted you to get out and get going. Don't bother us. And so your generation is very self-sufficient, okay? You're self-sufficient because the baby boomer mom was off to work during the Gen X era. Or that you would stay home often Now, that's very old how Gen Y comes up with that. You have to do a little one of those. This is why we're not going to do it. But okay, so the baby boomer mom goes off to work. There was no daycare, all right? And if we look at the Gen Xers, the oldest child, everybody in the front row, the oldest Gen Xers. Okay, what's your name? So mom goes off to work. It was Lisa. Mom is going off to work. She's nodding. How many brothers and sisters do you have, Lisa? She has one brother. What's their name? So Lisa, I want you to take care of Scott when you get home. I want you to help him get his homework done. Lisa, get your homework done too. And Lisa, could you please get dinner started? Make dinner. I got the crock pot, Lisa. All you have to do is plug it in. I've gotten all set. Set the table. Lisa, could you clean up a little bit so when I walk home, right, I come in the door, the house looks good. And we would leave. And then we'd say, Lisa, if I call you, I'm going to have a code. Because we were afraid that they would come through the phone and find you. I'm going to do 2 rings, and then I'm going to hang up. And then I'm going to call back. Right, Lisa? Lisa's nodding. Right? And Lisa, lock the door. Don't let anybody in. Right? And we left. We didn't get home till 6, 7, maybe even 8. And what was Lisa doing? She was watching MTV. She wasn't doing anything we told her to do. And Lisa was making tapes. Now, you got to get this, Gen Y. This is what the technology was like when Lisa was 14. Lisa liked a song on the radio. She would get the tape recorder out, and she would push it next to the radio. Listen to this technology. She would listen for the DJ to stop talking, and then she would press record, right? And she would make tapes of her favorite music. And then she got very creative. Her tapes had themes. Like her boyfriend broke up with her, and all the songs were sad love songs, right? Oh, Lisa's like blushing, right? And when she was happy and she fell in love, woo, all love songs. And here's the deal. When I speak, Gen X guys come up to me and they go, yeah, but we did albums. We didn't do one song at night. They played the whole album, and then we would record the albums. And then another Gen X guy would come up to me and go, man, you didn't talk about our bands. We would rig things together. The word is rig. There was no technology. Things were being held together with duct tape. Gen Y, do you know what duct tape even is, right? Because now we just press a button. We've got the symphony behind us, right? We sing to YouTube. You've got everything at your head. But this generation, Generation X, This is a generation that discovered everything for themselves. It's the most creative of all the generations because we left you alone to do what you wanted. And you fell in love with your media, you fell in love with your music, and you didn't want to hide it. We trademarked and copyrighted, but you wanted to share it. And as you shared those tapes and as we shared our music, you opened up a concept that is with us today. It's about sharing. And so now we have a generation that wants to give. And so we now are changing our point of view. And when you came on the scene, I'm sorry, Gen X, we called you slackers. We called you slackers because you wanted work-life balance. We wanted you to work. Forget about your kids' soccer game. Stay at work. We didn't want you to take time off.
Is there a code, a way of knocking so he knows it's you? Or shaking your head no. You got it. Is he alone? Does he expect you? Do you have keys to the apartment? Is there a code, a way of knocking so he knows it's you?
Alpha team, final position. We're ready to go.
Be careful.
Shit. Alpha team, man down, man down.
I told you. Manny, bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone!